पादमौलिपर्यन्तां गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नप्रणश्यन्ति सिद्धन्ति च मनोरथः लक्ष्मीं तनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षम् अङ्घ्रिद्वयं निगमशाखिशिखा प्रवालं हैरम्बमम्बुरुहडम्बरचौर्यनिग्रहं विघ्नाद्रिभिरशतधारधुरन्धरन्नः सर्वेषां स्वागतम्. This is the positive psychology session for the 46th shloka. So after a long time we are doing a session because there needs to be continuation when it comes to yoga nidra practice. So there were 4 sessions that were conducted with respect to instruction mode. And we'll just learn a little bit about the concept of it, and then this will be the last session for Yoga Nidra concept, and then we'll move on to the next one from the next session onwards. So with the whole experience, we have to understand the concept because we are not just learning yoga over here. We're learning different concepts of positive psychology. Therefore, it's important to understand the elements of it as well. So therefore, a little conceptual knowledge about Yoga Nidra is also needed. So what is this Yoga Nidra? It is a method. Now, it is a method for what? It is a method to experience. Now, we're talking about it from the perspective of dhyana dharana. So we can understand that this particular method is to understand the different states of mind, that we can be active, we can invoke our consciousness regardless of our physical presence. So that is one thing. Separation is the second objective of it. Separation of the different presence. That is, my mind can be present regardless of the physicality. So to experience that, it was needed. Now, when we talk about Yoga Nidra, what is the whole point of it? What is the whole method framework of it? Is that first, it is a mode to relax. Relax as in chitta vritti nirodha. That is to reduce. You know, in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. And Partha says that it is difficult to hold the mind. Vayuriva sudishkaram. So, to hold the mind, to bring about stability in the mind, there needs to be less. We need to reduce the fluctuations of thoughts in mind. For that, there needs to be a level of stability that the mind must reach. And this Yoga Nidra concept is a way of achieving that feat. So in this, there are different kinds of tensions that we see. We're not going for dukkha over here. Tension, speaking about it from the perspective of a Western ideology, there are muscular tensions, there are emotional tensions, and there are mental tensions. When we talk about muscular tensions, these are related to body postures. They need a certain, due to movements they occur. Certain tension is built up. Maybe we are sitting for a long point of time. We don't move about. So therefore, it usually what happens, even if I'm not moving, if I'm sitting for a long time, what happens due to gravity acting on my spine tends to, my spine is like this. So it tends to pay heavily on the lower bones. So what happens, the spine which has that ability to extend, it is now clumped up on one another, and therefore it is like this. But it can grow, it is connected, and therefore we can elongate it. But because we are sitting for a long time, it's not possible. That is one thing. So those are muscular tensions. So to remove that, this deep relaxation concept of Yoga Nidra actually helps us to release the muscular tension. That means if there is any muscular knots, if there are any hold, if there is any catch kind of things, it helps to reduce it by slowly relaxing the body. That is one thing. Then emotional tensions. Emotional tensions, as we understand, is purely emotional related. There is an emotion that is coming into place, etc., etc., etc. Now, because of that, what happens? When we refuse to recognize them, it gets repressed. That is, I'm recognizing the nature of the emotion, but I'm not understanding what is the origin of that emotion. Therefore, I'm not treating that. So there it becomes repressed and it stays underneath. And there is a trigger. Whenever there is an emotional trigger, they try to push up this. So there are pent up energies. So once we talk about why we practice yoga nidra, the point is to not sleep. Sleeping is basically an escapist way of going away from this reality, not the reality, this reality. So the point is to emphasize on letting go, that is detachment through the presence of mind. So therefore, when we go through the instructions of Yoga Nidra, the instruction is to notice everything that is around us, but never to dwell on that particular thought. If there is any sounds in and around also, we listen to it. We do not judge it, we do not identify it. We listen to it and then we move on. So this way we are able to ease the emotional tensions. Then there are mental tensions. Mental tensions basically when there is too much of mental activity. That means we have worked too much, when we are using our mind too much. Physical exertion is not the point of it, but it also contributes to it. So this mental tension also, when we go through, when we deep dive down and we separate ourselves from the physical self, we understand that the mental tension also can be completely done away with. So this helps us to rest more uh, comfortably when we are in this state. In fact, we are able to experience the same amount of rejuvenation that we face when we sleep. Maybe 1 hour 30 minutes of yoga nidra is able to rejuvenate us as much as say 8 hours of sleep, like that. So the point of, and this is the whole practice of yoga nidra. So then how what are the miniature concepts, that is sub concepts involved in this? First is to, this is first one was with respect to uh, relax the mind. Next is to make instruct the mind, as in when we reach that state of subconsciousness, we don't have control over our mind anymore. So when we need certain things, when we need to experience certain things, when we need to direct it, we see that what we saw that the sessions were primarily beginner based yoga nidra. That is, there is instructions throughout the session. As we proceed to advanced levels, we see that there is no um, instructions given to do anything. The initial instructions is basically to lie down in shavasana and then, etc., etc., and then they initiate it, but they do not control the mind. Then what controls the mind? It is the sankalpa that we take in the beginning, that is going to guide our mind through and through. Nothing else. There is no other instruction given. That is the advanced level of it. So there we are trying to direct the mind. We are trying to bring up, why we are trying to do that is because if we want to achieve a certain amount of change, maybe in ourselves, maybe in our outlook, etc., etc., we need to redirect ourselves through the subconscious mind, because conscious is already under the influence of habits, under the influence of certain preconceived notions. So we need to reroute ourselves through the subconscious. So therefore, what happens? There we are trying to first reduce our connection to the physical reality, reach a state of pseudo consciousness, and try to reach our subconsciousness by initiating certain uh, transformative thoughts. That is the sankalpa, that is which is guiding us. So that is the main part of it. Then what other process that we are trying to do, that we are trying to practice pratyahara. That means withdraw ourselves from the physical world, experience a metaphysical world. The only way we are able to experience an alternate reality is when we let go of our connection to this reality. So it is giving us a doorway to experience something beyond this reality. And there we are trying to understand our consciousness, and we are trying to understand what dreaming needn't entirely be something conceived. There can be a reality in that also, so that we are trying to understand. And then we are realizing the samskaras. What do we mean by realizing the samskaras? Samskara is something that is inbuilt, that is within our smriti, that we has to be invoked. That is lost at some point of time. That is the reason when we are studying these things, it says it's a samskara of purva janma, because somewhere it is there. We are able to understand it. Sanskritam itself is something like that, where only people who had Purva Janma Samskara is said to be able to uh, understand it and absorb it. Otherwise, it's a very difficult concept. So, if you are able to do that, the thought of being pursuing it and then being able to do it are two different things. So, this level of consciousness is trying to invoke certain samskaras that has not yet come to the surface in our daily routine life. Usually in our daily routine life, unless and until there is a trigger to bring them forward, uh, like for example our reflex actions, like when I go and when I touch something hot, obviously let us consider that I have never understood what is the concept of heat. But when I touch something, I know the reflex action is that to draw my hand away, because it is going to burn me. So that such kind of it is built on that samskaras. Such samskaras is what is within us, which we need to realize. This is one important aspect of it. For what happens to instead of waiting for some real life event to bring that forward, we are trying to bring about, we are trying to reach that state and trying to realize it ourselves, trying to understand us better. So that is realizing samskaras. Then the attitude of a witness. We repeatedly in the Yoga Nidra, the instruction is just to observe, do not judge. So that is one of the attitude of the witness. And then the mantra, yantra, and chakra. Chakra, we only discussed the starting or the beginning Yoga Nidra practices, but as we go further, as we develop further, as we gain more practice over it, and we are able to visualize the chakras. Once we are able to visualize the chakras, then chakra meditation also starts. So that is awaking certain energies through the chakras. So there also, that is also extremely important. So that we haven't experienced. So that is also one of the part of the Yoga Nidra concept. And then there is creativity, increased creativity. Why? Because we are increasing visualization in our mind. And then memory training. Specifically, when we finish that whole, when we are trying to go get our mind to go around, and then when we come back, when we are refocusing, we rotate our consciousness throughout and then we bring it back, we are trying to recall what all we saw. So there, that is increasing memory train. So these kind of things are all a part of the Yoga Nidra concept, and it is lending immensely to mental strength. So this strength is what helps us to sustain in samadhi, in the state of samadhi, that is in the total stage of absorption. So that we are trying to achieve by trying to get our mind stable enough to achieve it. So that is the point of this Yoga Nidra. And then there are different things like psychosomatic diseases. Psychosomatic diseases means, so those diseases which include uh, which as psychology believes, which has these initiation in in psych, human psych, but it has reflected through physicality, like for example cancer or bronchitis, etc., etc., and all the asthma, all these things. So all these things would take much more time to understand, but they're called as psychosomatic diseases. Even in treating these psychosomatic diseases, Yoga Nidra is used. That is, one would be surprised to understand this. Yoga Nidra is used in cancer therapy also. because cancer therapy requires immense amount of mental strength to sustain the medications. So there also it is used. And then there is researchers in US, I think Dr. O.C. Simonton, a radiotherapist from Texas. So he has done a controlled trial where the specific form of yoga nidra significantly increased the lifespan of the cancer patients. This is those who are undergoing radiotherapy. This is not exclusive. What we need to understand is at this point of time, we cannot claim the exclusivity saying that only this can help us. No. While the allopathic and the Western medicine exist, with that, this too can be much beneficial, and in combined forms, they can lead to much potent healing methods. So therefore, those who are going through radiotherapy, those people are suffering through a lot of radiation and the therapy, that it has a huge impact on their physical well-being, and thereby their mental well-being as well. So the indoctrination of yoga nidra for them is a way to ease mental tension, as we discussed. So in psychosomatic diseases, we are not saying that specifically yoga nidra has some importance, is the only thing important, and is healing in kind. The point is that this can amplify the effect, or rather can make a person tolerant towards the um, to the therapies, to the destructive, physically destructive therapies that has been administered to it. So that is the concept of importance of yoga nidra. And there is some that there is a lot of research going on with respect to yoga nidra's use in coronary personality, that is cardiovascular diseases, to understand and the health of cardiovascular system when yoga nidra is administered. And because yoga nidra obviously impacts the cholesterol and lipid levels, so therefore that one is being thought. And then there are many such things like that. But while we do this, we have to keep in mind with our 30 minutes or whatever, what is the format that we are trying to do. First, we are trying to understand the mind. We are trying to get it relaxed. Once we get it relaxed, we are trying to redirect it. Once we try to redirect it, after we try to redirect it, then we come across control. When we start to control it, then what happens is we will start to gain or start to navigate. We will help the mind to navigate it. That is training the mind. That is through sankalpa. Initially we are giving all the instructions that is required, but then when we do to practice, when our sankalpa becomes very strong, then we don't need to do such things. So that is one thing. Then what we are trying to do, we are trying to process the experience that a human understands in yoga nidra without judgment. That is one thing. And then withdrawing the senses. And then the impact of this yoga nidra on brain and brain functionality. This we are trying to understand. And this becomes the stage for establishing samadhi, or reaching the state of samadhi. So this is a preliminary practice. So this is the whole concept of yoga nidra that we are concluding. Asti. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहिषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।